I guess. What gray are you? You have no.
I have a gray here.
Yeah, but there's you have gray there, and I'm.
Okay, hello. It's very quiet. Welcome to the 2021 Socially Distanced Mechanical Engineering Commencement Ceremony. I'm Professor Will Northrup, Director of Undergraduate Studies in ME. This is the first time I've actually spoken to students since I actually took this position over from Professor Chase back in July of 2020. I actually feel like I'm doing my job, so that's good here in front of you all today. So it's great to see you here to celebrate your amazing achievements as ME graduates at University of Minnesota. It's been a rough year or so, but you've persevered. I mean, needless to say, the ME faculty and staff are all really proud of you. In many ways, the last year has been full of challenges. You might even think that you didn't learn as much as you could have, or participated in the activities you would have liked to, or been as productive as you might have been. Perhaps we can see these times from a different perspective, though. We didn't plan to have a global pandemic interfere with our lives, but challenges we face don't often come with a warning. You've learned to face adversity, adapt, and succeed. I, for one, have learned to teach Zoom lectures with my cat jumping on my lap. Beyond expertise in fluid mechanics and design and manufacturing, you'll certainly face more unforeseen challenges in your future as mechanical engineers. The resourcefulness and adaptiveness you've used to get through your degree in these times will certainly come in handy. You may encounter situations in your future careers when you run into a tough problem and you can't just ask the person in the cubicle next to you for help. Or you might not even have a cubicle at all. You might be working internationally with a bunch of colleagues from home. Our newfound ability to communicate and work virtually with others will allow you to connect with the right people and get the job done. Most aspects of normal life will likely return, but things we've learned during the pandemic will probably stay with us. I have confidence that as ME graduates from Minnesota, you have the skills to take on whatever comes your way. All right, I'd love to keep talking, but we have a tight timeline to follow in today's ceremony and some speakers here, so let's get started. So before I introduce Professor Mantel, I do have some logistics to point out. So I'd like to make you all aware of the procedure. So what's going to happen here is that you'll see that there are some X's on the left by Professor Durfee over there. When it's your time, you'll advance and place your salmon-colored name card here on the table across from Professor Durfee. And then you'll and then your blue card, I think, on the next table for the photographer. When you reach the first X, your name will be red. So, yeah, your first X, you'll see it. You'll advance across the stage at the next X for a photo op, which is right here. Please don't take your mask off at that time. And then you'll move on across down here off to the right, and then there's another photo op there where you will be able to take your mask off, and you'll be able to take another photo there in front of the banner. And after your photo is taken and your mask is back on, you'll walk to the right side of the stanchions and back, so along the right-hand side here and back to your seat. So we appreciate your adherence to these rules. Hope it will make everything go smoothly. So next, I'd like to introduce our department head, Professor Sue Mantel. As most of you know, Professor Mantel is an amazing professor and is a tireless advocate for our undergraduate students. We're really lucky to have her leading our department. I'm sure you've had her for a class or two and can attest to her dedication to teaching and the student experience in ME. Please join me in welcoming Professor Mantel.
Thank you, Will. Hi, everyone. And at least now you can see I'm smiling behind my mask, which I get to gratefully take off. So it is my pleasure to welcome you on behalf of the ME department to this long-awaited in-person socially distanced graduation. And I also want to welcome not just the students who are here in McNamara, but also family and friends who can't be here, but I hope are streaming live. And one other group of people we're missing today is our alumni, actually. So often when we have these in-person events, we'll have the gold medallion group. These are people who have graduated 50 years ago, and we celebrate their long career as mechanical engineers and our alumni. And you too will soon be alumni. So the active learning portion of this event is, if any of you have an ME alumni as a family member, friend, can't be like a friend who just graduated though, kind of more of an adult alumni that you knew, could you stand? Anyone who has an ME alumni in their family? Okay, anybody who has a CSE alumni at College of Science and Engineering? It's pretty amazing. Okay, so I want you all to wave to the camera and say hi to your alumni family and friends who are watching. So somehow, all right. Great. Okay, everybody go ahead and sit down. Now I know at least some of you are awake. I only have a few minutes, but I think it's fun to look at where we all came from and how those people have influenced us. So here, this is my one last chance to give you a few sage professorial advice comments for your continued success. And what I'd like to say is, I know it's been challenging for you, just even getting into the major, getting into College of Science and Engineering, and I don't think you've disappointed us in any way. You've done amazing things. How many of you, if you are, can you stand again, if you are the first in your family to get a 4-year degree? All right. I think we should just give them all a hand and let's keep going. Stand, just stay standing. All right. 30% of you have probably done co-ops, and just stay, and many of you have also done an internship. Stand if you've done even a summer. My goal is to get everybody standing here. So co-op, internship. All right, let's give ourselves a hand. All right, I should get everybody on this one. Worked on a project without meeting in person, ever, virtually, sometime this year. Yes. All right. So you've accomplished a lot. Please, you really should give yourself a hand, because it is a big deal to get to this point. So have a seat. And now I want to just say a few other things, is that I can be sure that you will be successful. And I could say that to any class, but I have data. I have 30 years of my professorial perspective, all the years I've been here. And as head, I get to meet a lot of alumni. And so I can see both sides now. Some of these alumni I've had in class, it's always fun for me to be having people come by and give a tour to their kid, and then I realize I had them in class. So it really is quite my pleasure to just give you a few reasons why I think you'll be successful. And some of this is like all of our students and alumni. You've faced the challenges of 4 problem sets, all due on the same day. I'm sure you think that we just plan it that way, or 3 exams, all on the same week, right? You've also done projects with groups, and this is common among everyone. But I add for you more data, the challenges you've faced working remotely, take-home lab kits, virtually attending classes, and working on teams with Zoom. And so to kind of highlight something that Will just said, the skills you've acquired to adapt, to work independently when necessary, to engage with others while in different geographic locations, these will be your secret weapons as you go forward in your careers. You are all agile learners, and I know it. I've seen the data, and I know many of you from class. So it is my honor to be here inside McNamara, first time here, seeing so many people in one spot for a year. To wish all of you, your family, friends, any alumni who are out there, congratulations. Have a great, fun day.
Okay, so next I'd like to, thank you, Professor Mantel. Next I'd like to introduce Dean Paul Strakowski. Professor Strakowski is the Associate Dean for Undergraduate Education at the College of Science and Engineering, and he's an ME faculty. Though you may not have had him for your class in your time here, maybe some of you have. He's known for his dynamic lectures in classes and for classes like thermodynamics of fluid flow. As dean, he's helped the ME department decode COVID guidelines and enabled ME to keep your education moving forward safely. So please join me in welcoming Dean Strakowski.
I always smile when I take my mask off, and I don't know if it's just I'm happy to start breathing again or it's just really good to see you. Even though I can't always recognize you right away with your masks, it's really a joy. I'm glad Professor Mantel invited me to say a few words. I'm a faculty member in the department, and as your associate dean, I either met you when you started at the U as a new freshman. We had a gathering in Mariucci Arena. Many of you transferred in as transfer students, and I met all of you at one time or another. So I promised we'd get together again. I told you in your 4 years, you'd spend about 1,350 days as a student. And I didn't know the last 1,000 would be so difficult. Or actually no, it's not that many. It seems like 1,000, sorry. So in thinking about what to say, there were some words I didn't want to use, like unprecedented. I just used it, and I'm hoping that I never use it again in my life. It should be strucken from the English language. It's just been like that. But I want to begin my remarks today sharing thoughts from a novel I recently finished called The Four Winds. In this part of the world, the winds are predominantly from the west. In the winter, they come from the north and northwest, moving to the west in the spring, and from west to southwest in the summer, returning west as fall turns to winter and the earth completes its track around our sun, a process so embedded in our lives so as to proceed largely unnoticed. The novel, The Four Winds, is historical fiction surrounding the 1930s in the Central Plains of the United States. The Great Depression, the Dust Bowl, poverty, starvation, and many stories highlighting how Americans didn't treat each other as they wished to be treated. The 1930s were very difficult. The book describes these challenges through the lives of a single family as they migrate from the Texas Panhandle to California, surviving sometimes, but just barely. But the message was overwhelmingly positive and forward-looking. The winds of change in that time were the four winds. The winds came from the north, south, east, and west, bringing with them new opportunities to challenge and grow the human spirit. Your time at the university also carried the four winds, north, south, east, and west, particularly so these last 12 months, when challenges came from every direction. Some days, perhaps you felt isolated, but other days you realized you could solve some of society's most challenging problems, lead with a renewed sense of strength, or develop new ways of understanding yourself and how you'd fit into our world. Some days you took 2 steps backward, but on others you completed a race so exhilarating as to sustain you to this day, the day you cross the stage, become a graduate of this great institution. You didn't just survive the westerly winds of the upper Midwest. You conquered the four winds. You see, the four winds have helped you form you into a scholar, a leader, a builder, a designer, and a collaborator that you are today. No one can take the badge of 2020-21 away from you. It has given you an opportunity to see yourselves in new ways, stripping away veneers that generations before you were forced to keep. My parents were from the so-called greatest generation. I was subsequently born as a baby boomer. And now we have new and equally unfair buckets in which we place you, millennials, Gen X, Gen Y, and all that stuff. Let me tell you, there was no greatest generation. Within every generation is greatness. I stand before you today humbled by what you have accomplished. Within this room will be the next great generation. You do not be defined by labels. You have achieved so much in your young lives and have developed perhaps a unique perspective created by the challenges and, yes, opportunities of these last 12 months when the winds came from every direction. My father told me about when I was your age that when you get old and leave this earth, you will have become wise. You will have figured out who you are and why you were meant to walk this planet. He paused. He said, however, son, the key to life is to become wise before you get old. You've embarked on a journey through the College of Science and Engineering that brings you to the stage today with friends for life, with a belief in yourself, fortified by the challenges of the four winds. And you are wise, more than you ever know. The challenges you have faced these last 12 months have changed you. You can't push them under a rug, but you don't ever have to be defined by them. Remember, as you walk forward, the four winds will not always be at your back. But when you face the winds head on, you breathe it in and be empowered by the wisdom it provides. Congratulations, class of 2021.
Thank you, Dean Strakowski. That was very inspirational. Thank you. For the next thing, it's our tradition in ME to invite a student speaker for our commencement events. This year, I'm happy to present to you Micah Johnson, our senior, who has been famous for her starring role in our Tour of ME series YouTube video, and really appreciate her doing that for us. She's also president of the Formula SAE team and passionate about vehicles and racing, like myself. She's heading the General Motors after her graduation, the company I left to take this job back in 2011, to work in their promising fuel cell program. So please join me in welcoming Micah to the stage.
How do I follow up the last one? Jeez. Okay. Fellow graduates, family members, and esteemed faculty, I am humbled and honored to have the opportunity to share 4 things I realized as a mechanical engineering student at the University of Minnesota. Number 1, we have to be humble. According to CSE admissions, 98.4% of us were in the top quarter of our class in high school. At the onset of freshman year, there was no doubt we were brilliant. Physics 2 was when I started to question whether I was smart enough. Professor Oxon's thermodynamics class was a pivotal point, and also when I stopped wondering. I put hours into problem sets, joined study groups, and still ended up with an 8% on the final exam. I went home over summer break sure I would have to repeat the class. I checked my grades daily and was ecstatic and shocked when I got a C-. For me, that C- became a symbol of something bigger, that even in a perfect situation, when you have the calculations and constants, example problems, put in long hours, and have strong teammates, you might be confident, but dead wrong. When we work as full-time engineers, real people depend on us to use sound engineering judgment, good ethical principles, and solid factors of safety. Lives will depend upon us. I graduate with a confident mindset. Professors, thank you for my education and for teaching me to always double-check my work, question my assumptions, and ask others for help. Also, for all of you who got an A in thermo, tip my hat to you. Number 2, we have to get our hands dirty. The Formula SAE team brought engineering to life for me. In the Formula workspace and the ME student machine shop, the concepts from classes were put into practice. Making engineering judgment calls became more manageable as we experienced successes and failures. Some lessons were very personal. For example, in my first week, I was tasked with changing the oil on the 2017 Formula car. I'd never loosened an oil pan bolt before, and this particular one was over-torqued by at least 10 foot-pounds. Rather than reach for a breaker bar, I leaned really hard against the wrench, and when the bolt loosened, I popped my eye against the side of the car, resulting in a black eye for my first week of freshman year. I learned the importance of using proper equipment moving forward. Another example of a failure and important lesson happened at the yearly Michigan competition. Our car's drive chain snapped in the middle of our 22-kilometer race, resulting in disqualification. The root cause of the failure was a gross misalignment between the front and rear sprockets. Going off the SolidWorks model, everything looked great. With more focus on inspecting the actual car, we could have fixed the misalignment before failing out of the race. I think most mechanical engineers like getting their hands dirty. We want to design an engine and push it to the material and design limits by driving it really, really fast to make it better the next time. We like data, and we like what it can tell us about how our designs operate in the real world. You can learn all you want from a textbook, but sometimes it doesn't click until you've created it, held it in your hands, and tested its performance. Number 3, we gotta keep it simple. Many things in the world are explained by simple equations. F equals ma, PV equals nRT. As mechanical engineering students, we took statics and dynamics, deformed fluids, heat transfer, and the equations became more complex. Our ability to solve challenging problems developed and strengthened. We learned to use these equations to simplify difficult questions and make allowances for unknowns. This ability took an average of 4 years, 34 classes, and 125 credit hours. Well done, everyone. We can take on engineering challenges from around the world because we understand some basic rules. When faced with something that seems unsolvable, we make a free body diagram, write our knowns and unknowns. Where are the forces applied? Where is the heat going, and is it an issue? Something as complex as a car can be broken down and modeled by a few springs and masses. And number 4, we can take on problems with confidence. Look how far we've come. Perseverance, dedication, grit. Whatever you want to call it, that's what it took. We didn't get here by showing up and memorizing just a few equations. We got here because we stayed up late, sometimes really, really late. We woke up early. We put pen to paper and figured it out. And when the world suddenly shifted around us, we adapted, rose to the challenge, and weathered the COVID storm. That took tenacity and an optimistic outlook. While writing this speech, I spent some time looking for quotes from famous engineers. For the most part, there are no famous engineers. I'd pose that engineers don't set out to become famous. We're too busy solving every problem the world can throw at us. As Theodore von Karman, an aerodynamic theoretician that you've probably never heard of, said, "Scientists study the world as it is. Engineers create the world that has never been." The world is changing quickly. Autonomous vehicles, hydrogen power, landing on Mars. Imagine what we'll do. I want to leave you with these thoughts. 1, if you believe you are the most competent person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room. Stop it. 2, please get your hands dirty any chance you get. Buy a tool set if you don't own one. 3, keep it simple, stupid. Always check the power cord first. 4, we have the intellectual tools to make the world a better place. Our brains are now worth at least $100,000. To our family, friends, and professors, we could not have done this without your constant encouragement, willingness to listen, and support. I am honored that I was allowed to speak to you today. To my fellow graduates, I wish you the very best in your life and career. Good luck, and go Gophers.
Awesome. Great words. Great socially good words of advice. The KISS principle is one of my favorites. So thank you, Micah. So the Goldstein Outstanding Graduate Student Teaching Award was created to recognize departmental teaching assistants who have exhibited excellence in teaching and have made a significant difference in student learning. It's an honor that we bestow on the best TA in the department as nominated by students and faculty. Today, I would like to present the 2021 Outstanding Graduate Teaching Award to Jonathan Lemke, who's standing here. Please, you can stand while I introduce you. The second-year master's student in the ME department who's also doing research in Professor Perry Lee's laboratory. Jonathan was most recently a TA for ME 3281, System Dynamics and Control. Many of the students in the class praised him for his clear way of explaining subject matter, even better than the professor, many said. won't say that. One quote from a student reviewer said, "He explained things in a way that helped everyone understand concepts. He answered every question passionately and to the best of his ability and was supportive to everyone, even staying late in office hours and other times as well. I'm not exaggerating when I say he's the best TA I've ever had." Well, I think that says it all. Congratulations, Jonathan. Your plaque is underneath your chair. Unfortunately, we cannot hand you a plaque, so yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so next is the moment where we do the procession. So I'd like to introduce Professor Will Durfee. Professor Durfee, as you know, teaches our ME 2011 course, Introduction to Engineering. For many students, this class in the robot show is the motivating factor for becoming mechanical engineering students and choosing that as their major. So Professor Durfee will be reading your names as you cross the stage to be recognized. Please try to adhere to the guidelines, and there will be some folks here. It looks like the camera is getting ready here, and to follow the procedure I outlined before. So the first person will be Rachel, I believe, with the lucky name to have Adams as her last name. So you can start queuing there, and I think people can start to queue on the X's after her. Okay, so please hold all applause to the end after all the names have been read. And when we end the ceremony, everybody is going to leave out these doors right here. But that will be clear to you. So, all right, let's get started.
Rachel Adams. Elsa Bardwell. John Kelly Gabriel Brakis. Emily Chack. William J. Clare. Kayla Isabel Cortez Mara. Andrea Dalius. Benjamin DeStefanis. Abigail Page Diekman. Nicholas Florentius. Chase Glazer. Jacob Gordon. Christine Grace. Brian Francis Griffiths. Andre Claude Marie Guyot. John Helgeson. Miles Hicks. Preston Holt. Amalia Hornum. Matthew Howard. Duncan McDonald Ince. Jace DeVoe Jordan. Devin Patrick Kelly. Andrew John Killian. Andrew Kivy. Jake Next. Ka Ho Lai. Mitchell Allen Locuso. Jack Manderscheid. Sean Mather. David McLernan. Yuan Ding. Benjamin Moeller. Christine Nelson. Jacob T. Penaz. Praveen Prakash. Nicole Reber. Grant Ryersey. Samuel Scherzer. Timothy J. Stauffer. Jacob Jerome Stores. Connor Joseph Sullivan. Evan William Swift. Connor John Teal. Kenneth Trong. Anders Voga. Robert Wagner. Jordan Wallace. Matthew Zerer. Aiden C. Zimmer.
Okay, congratulations, everyone. Okay, so this is a special time in our lives. So much opportunity in front of you. I know you'll persevere in whatever path you take after your ME degree. So stay well, and please stay in touch with us. Come back and visit us when things are more open. So we look forward to seeing what you will do in the years to come. Congratulations, class of 2021. Okay, so I think, how do we do it? This way, right? This way. Yeah, so I hope people can file this way. Thank you so much.